Good morning. Good morning. Hey, sorry about that, guys. Hey, listen, guys. Seriously, hey, today is Faith Your Fears Friday, and it's a first for the fun. I am not sure what is going on with my goodness. God, I'm gonna need you to help me out with this. Hey, listen, guys. I came on a little bit early because I wanted to get some of this preliminary stuff out of the way before we bring on our guest. It wasn't a surprise Saturday. I revealed who our special guest was going to be here. Matter of fact, I couldn't get the IG people to stream on here for this one, so I've got the other camera, which you can see down in the corner. So they're going to be able to tune in with us and be able to hear from us, to be able to see this, because I want you to be able to have this. And so we're going to give Miss Julie time to come on here. But in the meantime, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sharing basically what's happening and what's going on and why we are doing what we're doing. It's a little different. It's kind of taking on a little life of its own. And so it's growing. Yesterday, we were able to go speak to the real estate professionals there at the Success Center about the power, about what 20 seconds really does and how important that is. 20 seconds of insane courage really can change the plot line for your life. And so on Faith Your Fears Friday, for those of you that are new, for those of you that are joining, of course, I've made a lot of recent connections here in the past few weeks and the past few months. And so if you're not familiar with what the Fun Life is, what the Fun Life community is simply we're helping people to tap into their childlike faith, to be able to come out in this playground we call life and live out their childhood dreams. And that's really all we're trying to do. We're not trying to complicate this. We're not trying to do anything crazy. We're just simply trying to go in and activate that childlike faith that is inside every single one of us, to be able to come out and really, I mean, seriously, when I was talking to those real estate professionals, I asked them, hey, what did you want to be back when you were a kid? And I'm not talking like, teenager, preteen, right? The between. I'm talking about when you were 5 and 6 years old. And, teachers, astronauts, there's a lot of different things that came up. But what really happened, many of you guys would want to be how many of you guys would want to be a realtor? How many of you guys said, yeah, I wanted to be a real estate agent? Nobody, right? Nobody said really. You probably didn't even know what a real estate agent was. So seriously, guys, when you guys think about this, in the Fun Life community, that's what we're doing. We're helping you tap into that childlike faith. And really, some of the preliminaries, again, Miss Julie should be on here pretty soon now. We'll bring her on. But we're still, right, in the comments section, you guys are going to see the free book, the Ziglar free book, right? And so here's the thing: is it's packed with so many good quotes. For you guys that can't see that, oh, that's too close. Never mind. All right, so there's going to be a lot of good content. A lot of the information that I get on here is that I share with you guys. It's right out of this right here. It's right out of this book right here. This little book. And that's a little book of big quotes. And then we're still, right, we still have our Mardi Gras fundraiser. That link is also down there in, oops, hang on. All right, hang on. Man, I cannot do two things at once. You should be able to go on there and donate. And then, of course, this Saturday, we're going to be having the taco fundraiser at 14151 Rome's Quarter Road. Let me just message her real fast. Again, so here's why we're doing what we're doing, right? Because last night, I don't know if you saw the video, last night we were on the Facebook desktop and we were trying to do it from the Facebook desktop, but we found out through our inner circle and our social media coach that they did away with that. So we could not bring it on here. I have a streaming service that we can stream on here. That's how a lot of people bring on guests, but we're finding out that streaming service is actually fixing to go away, and you're not going to be able to go into groups, but it's still allowing you to be able to go on and do it on your personal page, but the reach is a little different. And so we're doing it from the mobile app, which is a little bit more organic growth because it's originating directly from Facebook. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but if it originates from Facebook itself, it actually, the algorithm and how it's set up is a little, it has the potential to reach more people. So anyway, so Faith Your Fears Friday, guys. Listen, I'm gonna tell you a little bit. I will tell you a little bit about Miss Julie Ziglar. Of course, she's the baby daughter. Matter of fact, she just messaged me. She's trying to log on. But here's the thing is, Julie Ziglar is the baby daughter of legendary speaker, trainer, motivator, Zig Ziglar. And before his death in 2012, it was stated that he had impacted over a quarter of 1 billion lives. And what had happened, hang on just a second, let me shoot her this real fast. Let me shoot her my deal. Okay, there we go. All right, so I just shot her the link. She should be able to click on that link. Miss Julie, if you're seeing this, you should be able to click on that link. And once you come on, what's going to happen? This happened with Tom Ziglar. It happened a little bit with Billy Cox, but we were able to make it happen. Guys, also for tomorrow, Surprise Saturday, you're going to want to watch that one. But anyway, where was I? What had happened was I got sidetracked. Anyway, so Julie Ziglar, that's where I was. Baby daughter of legendary speaker, trainer, motivator, Zig Ziglar. And before he passed away, I mean, he did so much. He really did go out. And if you've ever heard him speak, if you heard him speak live, go ahead and just say, hey, me, put live in the comment section, put live. Or if you've seen any of his videos, just put videos in the comment section, because I tell people a lot of times, and I've gone to high schools and I've asked them, hey, are anybody heard of Zig Ziglar? And hands go up, some hands don't. They've never heard of him. But I encourage them to go and look up YouTube, Google Zig Ziglar. You want to talk, put motivator, Google top motivator. Zig Ziglar is going to come up. And so what's going to happen is you're going to find out that he was seriously, this guy was way ahead of his time. Some of the principles and some of the things that he taught were insane. He was out there talking about this stuff long before anybody really did. And that's what happened. He was actually the guy that was doing it. Now, there was some that came before him, right? Norman Vincent Peale, and oh gosh, the guy that wrote the, I'm drawing a blank here. But there was so many of them that were out there doing this stuff. And then Ziglar came along. And so his claim to fame was that he was able to simplify the complex. And that's a lot of times what our struggle is. The struggle is just that, is that what happens is that you're going to be able to take something that's very complex and simplify it. And so I did that with my coaching call yesterday, is that we were able to take the information that we were given, we were able to put it down in a form that was able to be condensed and simplified, internalize it, and then you were able to go out and teach somebody else the information. And so here we go, Miss Julie Ziglar. Yes! We're getting there, girl. We are getting there. Hey, this is all trial and error. This is all, I was just explaining to our Facebook community how the organic reach from a stream that is started directly from Facebook has a different algorithm than what is done from an outside third-party streaming service. And matter of fact, Facebook is going to start to do away with that, where you can stream into groups. You can still stream to your personal profile page, but it's not the same. And so, we lost her. That's all right. We'll figure this out. We'll bring her back on here in just a little bit. But let me put her back in there. Let me shoot her back the invite. All right. So anyway, so we know that she's there and she's fixing to come on. And I'm telling you guys, before I want to say dad, but before Mr. Ziglar passed away, he was diagnosed with some information, some stuff, and I'll have Miss Julie share that. Miss Julie, thank you
Yeah,
for coming on here. I know we were having some technical
I
difficulties, but
am.
we're working through that. How are you this morning?
I want to get my whole face in here, but let's see. My stand is not is not adjusting
That's all
correctly.
right. The audio is a little light.
Okay, let me see if I can turn it up. Oh, I'll move. I got to move this. It's the stand. Is that better?
I
Any?
can barely hear you.
Oh no. Okay, is that better? It's up as high as it'll go.
That's as high as it'll go.
Yep, it will. That's it.
Oh no. Are you tied to are you tied uh to a Bluetooth or anything like that?
Uh, I'm you're asking somebody who doesn't. I mean, let me see if it's on. I can go look at on Bluetooth.
That's all right. Can you
Okay.
guys let me ask the audience? Can you guys hear the audio? Are you guys good? It may be on my end, Miss Julie. Tony, Phil, if you guys are watching this, how's the audio on y'all's end? Go ahead and keep talking, Miss Julie.
Okay.
We'll see if they can hear you.
Okay. Well, I'm. This is about it. All the guys when I speak hate my voice. It does not project. I mean, the volume just doesn't go there. All,
That's okay. That's okay. Hey, we'll just run with it. We'll just run with it. Hey, thank you for agreeing to do this, and I appreciate you doing this. And again, it's one of those things that we're just kind of working through it. But I want you to be able to kind of share a little bit of your story and really more or less about the book,
yeah.
Embrace the Struggle. Because on
Okay.
Faith Your Fears Friday, what we typically do is we talk about helping people to increase their faith, to be able to faith their fears, not just face
Yeah.
their fears, right? Because we all have something that we go through. And a lot of times we keep from our fears keep us from going out and really living out our best life, or I like to call the fun life. And
Yeah.
so I'll just go ahead and let you kind of take over, tell us a little bit about yourself, and just run with it.
Okay. Well, uh, there's so much to tell. I'm just choosing and picking right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, just
I'm teasing.
pick and choose.
No, let me start with I done a million different things. I've always been up for whatever next thing's in front of me, and I look forward to changes. I don't mind change. Um, but Daddy had asked me to be his editor uh, after I had had a guidepost. I won one of those guideposts. They have a biannual contest when you write. And so I wrote a story about, at the time, I worked at a racetrack. And I just, I managed it was a small stable. Just he never had, my boss never had more than 4 horses in training. And I loved it because I got to gallop the horses, I got to feed them, got to brush them, I got to cool them out, I got to bathe them, got to clean their tack. He taught me how to give the meds, the whole thing. It was my favorite job in the world, uh, except for maybe helping Daddy, which was something I was blessed to do. But at the time, Daddy and Roger Staubach and Coach Landry had just started a real campaign against horse racing in Texas. And the other guys, the other trainers at that track started teasing my boss that I might kind of mess things up for him. And of course, he knew I wouldn't do that. But I told my answer to Dad when he wasn't real happy about me working there, but I told him the horses didn't get a choice and who had them and what they did. And that I wasn't, it wasn't a parimutuel track, it was a training track. And anyway, so I got teased a lot. But I sent in that story about the race track and an experience that I had at the track. And the story was really about we had a horse. His name was Cometa, and he was our best horse at that time. And just on a regular training day, he stepped in a hole and bowed his tendon. And I didn't ride him; he was too strong for me. We had to get we had to get a Gallup boy to do it. So anyway, the vet came out and he had his sonogram machine, and he had me holding up. The horse was in cross ties, and he had me hold up the off leg while he did the sonogram. And I was standing there looking over at the sonogram to see what was going on, and all of a sudden Cometa reared up, and when he did, his foreleg pushed me back flat on the ground, and he started pawing the air, and I mean, I was right underneath him, and all of a sudden my body flipped over backwards, and I landed standing up against the wall in the only place his hooves could not reach me. At that very moment, when I was plastered to the wall, the horse had already come down. My boss walked into the stable, and he just saw everybody. He said, "What's going on?" And the veterinarian looked at him and said, "Either you have a world-class gymnast or we just saw a miracle, because you cannot flip from a flat-out position." And I tell you what, I could never tumble straight. I never was able to do a cartwheel. I just was not gifted in that kind of agility. So the story was about how I know an angel lifted me up against that wall, and I was supposed to be here that day.
Wow.
But I had gone to their training, and that's the story I won the contest with. And while I was there, they told me that I had a gift for editing, for seeing what's wrong with the story, seeing how it should connect better, what's not important, what is important. So I went home, and Dad said, "Well, how'd it go, little one?" That's what he called me, was a little one. Yeah. And I told him that they had said that I had a natural knack for editing. So he said, "Well, I just happen to need an editor." and I edited for him for 20 years. Wow. And so I read every book he'd ever written, so I'd know what he'd already written. Because you know how kids are, they kind of take stuff for granted, and we weren't always the best about grabbing those books up as they came, but I read every one of them, highlighted everything where he might have repeated himself, and that's how I ended up speaking with him on stage, which is where I'll go to right now, because this book, Embrace the Struggle, is the book that is a result of an accident Daddy had. And we were working on a different book, and it was called Creative Imagination. At the time that Daddy fell down the stairs at home, he had a thought. Daddy usually kept a piece of paper and pen by his bed, so if he had an idea, he could write it down without getting up and disturbing Mama. So he snuck out of bed to go in the office to get a piece of paper, and he didn't turn the lights on. And when his office door was right beside the staircase, I mean, just right beside it, and he just stepped off and went down on his left side, landed on his head on the marble floor, and slammed into the front door with his head, and he had 2 brain bleeds. Those brain bleeds caused him to have what turned out to be a permanent memory loss, short-term memory loss. So he had spoken in Anaheim, California, and Sacramento the 2 days before. And that very day he had spoken in Sacramento. And I went back and looked at those tapes to see where Daddy was, with his speaking. He did not miss a lick. He was 100% on. I just wanted to be sure it wasn't anything that was going on before. Yeah. And the doctor came in the next day, and he said, "Mr. Ziglar, I'm sorry to tell you that, you have brain bleeds." He had 2 brain bleeds in the back of his skull. And he said, "You probably will lose your short-term memory, and it may be permanent," is what we were told. And he said, the doctor said, "You're not going to be able to do what you have always done," the speaking. And Dad said, "Well," he said, "we will find a way to do what needs to be done, because I know I still need to be speaking." And as time went on, Daddy Daddy said that he realized he could reach a whole different audience. He could finally have the people who really had the biggest struggles see that he was living out what he's always taught. He said, little one, these people, they're always people who see you, and even when you tell them stories, about your past, because he was raised in a very poor situation with his father had passed when he was little and all of that. And he said, but when I get up there with you, I was selected to be the one who would interview him because I knew all of his books and everything. And I could, if I just said, Dad, tell us about that redhead, he'd go on, he would take off on Mama, and you'd get all his best stuff. And Mama and Jesus were his favorite topics after his head injury. Jesus, they always were, but in that public audience, he was just not quite as direct as he got after his head injury, and that part was a whole lot of fun, I'll tell you. But he just said, more people will see that I am up here. I'm not perfect. I'm not afraid, but I'm doing what's in front of me. And he said, when you see that it's not going to be a help, let's stop. Because he knew that he might not be able to know that. Well, we were on the road. I was on the road with Dad, and Tom would fill in when I couldn't be there. And I guess it was close to 4 years, right at 4 years, 7, 8, 9, yeah, 4 years. And we were all over the United States, Hawaii, Alaska, and it just worked for me to introduce him and explain his head injury. And the fact that he was insistent on continuing because he wanted to encourage those people who really needed to embrace their struggles like he did. But the name of the book is Embracing the Struggle, Living Life on Life's Terms. And I just wanted to share with you some of the different things that we covered in that book. And this was really a labor of love. I'm looking for come on, pages, turn. I'll tell you, while I'm trying to get this open, one of the ladies we heard from when Daddy was speaking and had expressed, part of the reason that he was there is she had read the book too. She let us know that she had fallen, she was getting something out of the attic. She had fallen through the ceiling and she crashed on the floor, had all kinds of really bad, more or less permanent type injuries. Some she was able to overcome, some she wasn't. But the hardest thing was adjusting to the total change of life overnight. And she was just writing to let us know about how much it meant to her to have that Dad inspired her. There was another lady who was actually a trainer, a speaker type trainer, and she had quit her position. She had quit training because she started having seizures, and she was scared to death that she would have seizures in front of a training room. And after she saw Daddy speak, she decided that all she had to do was give whoever had invited her to speak, give them a sheet on what to do if she had a seizure. And she would just let them know when they hired her that she occasionally had seizures, but it wasn't often. It was just, it scared her so badly to have one in public that she quit. And because of Dad, she got started back. But we covered things like overcoming addiction, all different kinds of addiction. And let me see, I had that page and then I used my hands again and there it went. You know how that goes.
That's okay.
Okay, we covered accepting, the changes. And I'm going through that right now because I've been a horse girl I mean, there was a pony in our yard. It wasn't mine. It was my oldest sister Susie's, but she'd throw me up on that pony. I think from the time I was about 5 and 6 on, there was always a horse somewhere, and I got my first one when I was 11. But I'm rehoming my horses now because I've had some COVID scarred my lungs, and I found out I need to be on full-time oxygen. So, yeah. And I tell you what, a horse girl without a horse is somebody lost. I'm reading this book. Anyway, I'm struggling to accept, okay? That's right where I am.
Hey.
And this happens to everybody. At some point, there's going to be something that they need to accept, because there's some things you can't change. Doctors can't change, but we can always change our attitude and the way we see ourselves and others. So we accept. You have the transparency that Dad showed in doing this was the transparency that he had always shown. Daddy told people from early on that he had been in a place where he didn't have more than a nickel to put gas in the car. He had to turn his cars back in because he couldn't make the payments. There were, times that the water, the electricity got. I mean, I got to tell you, my mother had to learn to accept that he was going to be that open because she was embarrassed. She learned that it was necessary and important, though, because most everybody growing up, or when we first fly the nest, those things happen, and it's part of life. But when you're married, your wife will sure tell you about it.
Amen.
and then if you're married to Daddy, he'll tell everybody else because he wanted everybody to know it happens to everybody. And I think most people's favorite quote is, failure is not, what is it? Failure's not a person. Yeah.
It's an event.
It's an event. Yeah. Thank you for the rest of that.
Yeah.
So the transparency, the Bible tells us that we need to the reason we share our testimonies, kind of where we've been and where we are now because of Jesus in our life, is so that others can know. But if they don't hear what you were dealing with and what you've overcome because Jesus Christ is in your life, they don't get it. And they can't know it if we're not transparent. And by the way, I learned to be transparent sitting around the tables of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's been almost 39 years since I did that, never had another drink. Jesus got spread all over that group. My husband, who got sober the month before me, we had Bible studies, people wanting to know who their higher power was. All his sponsees got saved. Anyway, I still help people I see who I know are in the throes of that addiction, which I can certainly relate. So then we got the physical struggles. Some of us are born with disabilities that aren't going to change, or there are accidents that cause those physical things, like I'm dealing with. And believe me, I found out I can't even throw my horse hay with the oxygen on because it's sucking in air, and so it sucks up the dust. And they said you can't set it on the floor, you can't do this. So anyway, just all of the little nuances of what you have to do to adjust to those physical struggles. I mean, even just having a walker around your house is cumbersome. They get in the way, but I know most of the problems are bigger than that. Whole bigger section on financial struggles, because that's just common everyday stuff. So we had a lot of people who were willing for us to tell their stories. And that's the beauty of Dad's books, is people were always willing to help him by letting him put their stories in his book. But you know how he got the stories? He asked them how they were, what was up, where they'd been, where they're going. You know, that's how you make those relationships and just learn people. Um, Three mothers, three struggles. Gail McWilliams, who sadly passed away recently, had diabetes, was told that she would go blind and possibly die if she had a baby. And um, she she was more concerned about having a baby than those things. And ultimately, she got to have several kids. And ultimately, she did end up blind. And her story of faith is one of the strongest. Uh, Dad was just loved Gail in her spiritual belief and her willingness to go and go and go. And she wrote, I don't know how many books, being blind, and you know, she did the braille, the whole thing. But that was a particularly moving one. And then there's also that topic of not being able to have your own children, you know, and that struggle. And we have just a great story by Christy Brown about how she adopted one child, and then that child started saving money so they could adopt another one. And anyway, it's a miracle story. Y'all want to read that one for sure. And then From Addiction to Service is about three people that I knew. One I met in prison. Jim and I used to do prison ministry on Sunday nights, who became a pastor. He was a football player on a scholarship. When he got injured, got addicted to the pain meds. But the big thing that happened to him is he got benched. He had to heal before he could play. And during that time that he wasn't a part of his team, he got pulled in the total wrong direction. But in prison, he got Jesus. He got Jim, my husband, as his AA leader. Jim went every Saturday to the prison and did an AA meeting for the guys. And he got out and became a pastor. And he's still a pastor in Italy, Texas. Just great stuff. Marriage struggles. Okay, here's a funny one. When Dad and I were on the stage, he would just get started on Mama, and he would talk about you know, the redhead, and if she ever leaves me, I'm going with her, and on and on and on. I keep her in the black so she can keep me in the red. I mean, she keeps something about her red hair. Tom, if he were here, he'd just blur it right out. But anyway, she always dyed her hair red, and because her dad was Irish and his hair was red, so she knew she could be redhead. And Daddy said the hairdresser keeps her in the red, and the redhead keeps her in the black by paying her. And I don't know why that got stuck right in the middle of that. But what I was going to tell you is sometimes when Daddy would be talking about Mom, he'd start to repeat himself. And that was really my main job because his short-term memory was not there, but his long-term was. So he'd start to tell the same story, and I'd just reach over and touch him on the ring. I say, Daddy, I think we've already told that. You've already told him this story. And he'd say, and this, I mean, for the very first time I did it, and then every time after that, he'd say, well, I know that little one, but see those two people right there? They were not listening. They were not listening. And so then he'd keep going and he'd come back to it. And then if he did it a third time, and I would tell him, but if he did it a third time, I would say, wait a minute. And I'd look out the audience and I'd say, I don't know who's sitting out there who thinks this message is not for them. But if you would just let it recognize that this is for you, we can move past this. And until you do, we might keep hearing the story. And we got letters from people who said that until that minute, they didn't know that it was for them. totally changed their marriages. Got that book, Courtship After Marriage, and just, just it didn't matter how many times the regular person, there was a whole group of people who were saddened that Dad was getting up not at his prime. And Dad's whole point was, you use what you have to the best of your ability, and you don't let everything just knock you down, and that there's not anything that God can't use for the benefit of others. He was willing to be imperfect to help people be better. That's the kind of love he had. A deep, deep love. Not, for Jesus, for Mom, for his family. I wish everybody had Daddy for a daddy. And I can tell you that Daddy was a father to many, many people who didn't have one they considered a father or that they knew. They would read his book and they would decide, this is who I'm going to model myself after. This is who I would want talking to me. This is my father image. I've heard it over and over and over. Thank you for loaning me your dad. Your dad was my dad. I had no real dad. I was abused. He was in prison, whatever it was. Dad is a big, big spiritual, loving daddy to millions of people. And we're glad that that's how that is. But it went from there to illness, grief. Of course, Daddy had a lot to say about grief when we lost our sister, Susie. She had just turned 46. And Dad we were all blessed in a lot of different ways through it. Dad has miraculous stories about things that happened right after and how he was supported by the people who loved him. But living life on life's terms is kind of an AA saying, but it's because the Serenity Prayer played such a big part in my life that we added that, because the thing is no matter what you do, life still has its own twists and turns, things you can't control. And it's so much easier to live life on life's terms if you accept that that's just how it's going to be. Don't be shocked. Don't think you were picked out for this thing. Don't think that God chose to strike something down or somebody down and swish whatever right out of your life to be cruel. There are two sides to that story, and we are on earth, and we know that the enemy has dominion on this earth. We also know that man's decisions with chemicals and changes and things that we've done to this natural place are taking their toll on us. But our bodies were never meant to be permanent here, not here. And we're told that in the scripture over and over. And Daddy, okay, here's, I think, the icing on the cake about embracing the struggle. There came a point when we were speaking that I noticed a change in Dad. And we thought the shunt that he had gotten to relieve the pressure after the accident might have gotten clogged up. So we went back to the surgeon, and he did an MRI, and he said, I think it's time for y'all to get involved with the neurologist. They said, I think your Zig's having some issues with dementia. So we went, and the doctor was a female, and she gave him the test. And it was obvious to us just watching. He couldn't, even the way he walked, he couldn't even keep his balance in the dark, which is one of the primary giveaways. But his brain was so trained that he was able to make himself look pretty okay, even getting into it. But she took us in the office, and she said, Mr. Ziglar, I'm very sorry to tell you, you do have Alzheimer's. Immediately, Dad clapped his hands and slapped his legs and he pointed his finger at her and he said, do you know that my Lord and Savior has gone ahead of me to prepare a place that is so amazing, so wonderful, you can't even imagine? His first response was what he's looking forward to next, the next great thing in his life. That was just in him to the core, in him to the core. And I think we were scheduled for one more speaking engagement the next week, and then that was the last time that then we knew he had gotten more than short-term memory loss. But I believe the fact that that was hidden, the oncoming of it was hidden by the short-term memory loss, actually allowed him to be out there even longer. Because had we known it was Alzheimer's, we probably would have kept him off when he still had uh, just encouragement to give. So I don't know how long you're usually on, but I thought I better ask.
No, this, Miss Julie, this is gold. This is solid. I mean, there's so many people that are going through something in their life, financially, in their marriage, in their relationship, with Jesus, right? And there's so many key areas of people's lives where people are struggling, and I could not hold back my tears from when you were sharing your own personal story and testimony of what you're going through, because vulnerability is really a superpower, and that's why we're doing it on the mobile app, because of the organic reach that is doing it. Until we can really figure out the streaming service and how that works, I just want to be real. I just want to be transparent with the people in the audience and the people that are watching. I'm not trying to be famous. I just want to help somebody with something that I went through that could help them go. Our testimony right now, even what you were just sharing, is going to be somebody else's survival guide. And so that's really all we want to share. And I can't thank you enough for coming on here and sharing with me. On Fridays, I typically go about 15. Well, on Fridays, I typically go about 20 minutes. But my usual Facebook lives, we do 8:15 is about what I do. On Saturdays, we typically go about 45 minutes. But Miss Julia, wow.
Sorry, there's a lot to say about my dad.
No, I know. And you know what's so interesting about this whole thing is I first heard Dad, or Mr. Ziglar, back when I was 19. I went to the United Airlines arena to go hear him speak at a Peter Lowe seminar. I bought the tapes, bought the cassettes. My wife and I would listen to him in the car, in the truck. And to come full circle and to be able to hang out with you on a Facebook Live, to be able to text and call Tom, and Miss Cindy does a phenomenal job when we place our orders, and she takes care of everything, and the staff at Ziglar, I mean, just always amazing. You guys really are the epitome of what leaving a legacy really is. And so I was so honored to have been selected to be part of the Ziglar Legacy Certification Program, and to be able to carry on Zig Ziglar's legacy of you can have everything in life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And sometimes that means helping them walk through their struggle.
That's right. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Any parting words, anything you want to share with the Facebook community? Again, you're now having access to my little sphere of influence in the East Texas community. So I appreciate you. Anything you want to leave them, any wisdom, any encouragement, go ahead.
All right. I just want to tell everybody I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you're listening to Johnny Ortiz. If you need a lift, spiritual, just a happy lift, he's your man. You can count on him. And I want to say that if you want to sell your house, or if you want to buy a new home, I am right here in Lindale, Texas, and we do everything the way Daddy did it. I started Ziglar Realty August of 2020, just right after we had our COVID going on. But I particularly love selling land and ranch properties. Horse properties are my total specialty, and I'm going to get a Polaris in case somebody needs me to show like 100 acres, so I can drive you around. But anyway, yeah, I am here doing business, and we have other agents in East Texas as well. If I'm not close enough to you, but yeah, I wanted to work under my dad's name more than anything, so I go by Julie Ziglar. My married name's Norman. My children approved for me to do that. I asked permission because I honor my husband, but my dad's name carries a little more influence. People recognize it, and it's a name that carries respect because people who know who Zig Ziglar is know that he was a righteous, loving, generous, kind man. So, and that's how we do things,
Yeah.
honestly, and to our best of our abilities. So, that's really that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, character, integrity, honesty,
Yep.
transparency. I mean, truth. I mean, all there's so many
Yeah.
characteristics that Dad said that we already have inside of us, right? He says that we already have every characteristic for success. We just simply have to recognize, claim, and develop them. And so we
Right.
gave a talk yesterday at the Success Center for Real Estate Professionals here in Tyler, and I told them, I said, here, the whole thing about new year, new me doesn't apply. All this stuff was already in you. We just simply have to recognize, claim,
Right.
and develop it. And so I'm so glad you did that because, yeah, the Ziglar Realty is amazing. We often talk about how we're here at the Cardinal Financial Studios because I do real estate lending, but
Yep.
what I do is not necessarily who I am, right? I call myself a human engineer because we're rebuilding some people,
Mhm.
right? We're
Yeah.
reactivating that childlike faith. And, talked about how unless we become as little children,
Yeah.
we won't even see that. And so sometimes when you activate that childlike faith, anything is possible, right? As kids, when we wanted something, I
Yeah.
know mom said no, but let's go see what dad says. you know,
Exactly.
and so
You're
thank you
welcome.
so much. I appreciate you. I love you. I just can't tell you how much I truly appreciate you doing this and coming on. And I just know that someone somewhere is going to be blessed because of the stories you share. And if you haven't, I'll try to find the link to the book to go. You can go to Amazon. Embrace the Struggle. It's one of those books that you read and you almost immediately resonate with some of those stories
Yeah.
in the book. And if they can go through the struggle, they can embrace the struggle. Hey, there's hope for us.
Yeah.
There's hope for us.
And they do.
So awesome.
They do. All
Well,
right.
Miss Julie, thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you. I can't thank you enough. I'm gonna have to come up to Lindale and visit with you. We'll go have some of that good Mexican food y'all got up in Lindale.
Deal. I love you, Johnny. Thanks.
Awesome. Bye bye.
Good to be here. Bye bye. Take
See ya. Wow, guys. Wow, that was so awesome. Amazing. Thank you guys for being on here with us. I appreciate Miss Julie coming on and sharing her views or her information with us so that we can be able to hang on. Let's see.
I don't know how to leave, Johnny.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm
Let's
just
see
gonna
here. I
listen.
think I can
I'll
do it.
turn
I
it
think I
around.
can do it for you.
Okay. Thanks.
You're good. So guys, hey, listen. Seriously, this whole fun life thing. I mean, it's today is the day where I just invite you in to the fun life community. If you're struggling, if there's something that you're going through, I mean, some of the people that I hang around with on social media that I get to, we literally, Bob Burke, this guy, this guy right here. Bob Berg is going to be with me next Friday on Faith Your Fears Friday. I mean, we're probably not going to go very long because he's got a tight schedule. But one of his first audio cassettes that I listened to was Endless Referrals, and then I read The Go Giver. And guys, you want to get something out of life? Learn how to be a go giver. Don't be a go getter. Go be a go giver, and you'll find out. Just like the law of sowing and reaping, you're going to receive so much more than you sow. And so that's what it talks about. Give. What does it say? You read this book too? Give, and it's going to be given to you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And for those of you that are just joining us, remember our word, or really our place for 2024, right? To be more, do more, and have more in 2024, so we can give more, serve more, and help more, to perpetually live in that state of overflow, right? And so when that running over part, that's what we're talking about, overflow. And so I want to invite you into the Fun Life community. Go to johnnywan.com or message me here directly and say, hey, Johnny Wan, I want to be part of the Fun Life community. I want to be one of the cool kids. I want to be a cool in the Inner Circle Cool Kids Club, to be able to live out your childhood dreams in this playground we call life. Listen, you're probably not going to want to hear what I have to say. You're